Okay. So let's continue. From the purpose, we need to have the goals. And I said, either you use the goal of the project, but you can also talk about the goals for society and public welfare. The thing is that when you write your thesis, you have to generalize your results. You're not doing it for one company. You're doing it for everybody who has the same problem. So what you are doing must be something that many can use. Even though you're doing a prototype or something for one company, you're still doing something that your solution can be used by any company that has the same problem. So if they have the same problem, they can use your solution. And therefore, in the goal, you can talk about the goal of the work, but also for the society and public welfare. And if you remember in the scientific or the engineering course, 1304, that Robert has, you remember that there were different goals, the effect goals, result goals, and so on. Those you can use when you write this part. So you have to go back if you don't remember them. So I have two examples here, and you can read them, so we can talk about them. So what do you say about these two? So the first one is more specific and the other one is more general. And in your case, you can use both, actually. But if you have not presented the company earlier, you cannot talk about the company. You can talk about companies that have this kind of problem. Okay? One of the things I also want to make or pinpoint is we talk about starting to look at increased control of the staff performances. And that might be something that people is not really interested in. So that is something you may have to discuss in the ethic part, because you have to have an ethic part. And about increasing profitability is also something that is sustainability. And you have had that course, haven't you? Yeah. Oh, you are doing, oh, great. But anyway, so you know a little bit about that now. And have you learned what it is about, which pillar it consists of? So what we usually say is sustainability consists of environment, society, and economics. Okay? And when you describe this in your thesis, which you have to do, if you don't find anything within the environment part, don't even discuss it, or just say that, okay, we can't really, this work is not really affecting the environment, so it doesn't really have an environmental part. And economics, you will always influence that part. You can't do anything not influencing economics. And society, you will also influence. So think about what you are doing, the impact that will have on others. But if you find something you can't really say, you can just mention that you don't see how this will really affect the environment, beside maybe like a secondary part, or I don't know. So think about them when you write.
Why is the first one like this?
Well, when it comes to start to control people's performances, if there are people that doesn't really perform that well, how would they feel if they have a balanced scorecard in their hand that will actually affect what they're doing? Or actually they might feel controlled, such a thing. So that should absolutely be a point you should make in your thesis, that it might be considered as an ethical issue. So that's why you include it. So I usually say every coin has two sides. Even though we are trying to do something good for the company, like trying to get them to show profitability and things like that, you can always think about the staff and what they think about it. So always try to, each and every time you find something good, always think about what is the drawbacks. As an engineer, you always have to do that. And I don't say that you should argue with the company, but you should absolutely mention that you know that this is my task, but it's their task to talk to their personal staff. So the people who are working there, that's their issue, their problem. They need to do that. You can only do what you are asked to do, but the other part they should do. But it's very, very important that you discuss this. Because if you do something really good and the company's staff would say, no, we won't use it, what will happen with your work is that nobody will use it. Instead, it's better to start to get them to work with, this company would work with the staff. So when you come in with your product, they will accept it. This is well known. If you look at something in AI we call predictive programming, that is what Hollywood is doing. They will provide you the future, and then the companies run after and say they provide the products as Hollywood made movies for. Have you seen Knight Rider? Have you seen that movie? Have you seen Star Trek? Do you know what gadgets they used in Star Trek?
They always said that they're first with something, and then someone actually makes it.
The iPad they had there, talking in watches, didn't they? What can you do today? So if you want to really do something and really do something that the companies or somebody will use, always provide them with what you give them first, and then you do it and really provide it. Then they would accept it earlier. Okay. Anyway, so that's the goal. Then we have the methods. And have you write about methods before? Quantitative, qualitative? You have? So you know what the difference are? So the quantitative, qualitative, that's what we call the research methods. Because that's you use to do the whole thesis. And another one is inductive, deductive. Have you heard about that too? Okay, because that is also scientific parts. Those should be in the scientific part. Then we talk about material, which is the literature you're reviewing. That should also be written in the method part. Then you have for the thesis, where did you find material, data, and reach results should also be mentioned here, because you may use the company's own websites. Nobody will actually maybe be able to reach those websites outside the company. So if you use those websites, you need to make sure that the users or the readers understand that. And then you have also methods for the work. And what kind of methods are they? For the project, for the work? Interviews could be, absolutely, if you're doing for requirements. Agile methods, absolutely. And I guess many of you will use Agile, won't you? What do you do then? Well, you have to write about the different methods first. So waterfall, spiral, Scrum, more? Well, there are many, many more. But you need to take a selection of it and write about them. And then you pick one and argue why you pick that. And also you can start to not really apply it, but absolutely tell why it's important that you use Agile, for instance, and not another method. So you argue why and why not. How about the methods you're not going to write about? When in the delimitation, you can tell there are a lot of methods, but you will only have a number of them. And those will be the ones you really can apply in your work. So